Good morning and welcome back to my channel, Don't Mind Me. My name's Diana. I apologise for not putting a video up last week, but I was extremely busy making cards and jewellery for a local craft fair that I attended. And today I'd like to read a story which is a science fiction and suspense story, but it's also a LGBTQ story. And as we're coming into that time of year, I thought it would be appropriate. It's called The Redaction by Carolyn Neal. I hope you like it. Bear with me just while I get the story up. Oh, too far. There we go. The sight of a small leather-bound book within the gutted innards of the most boring-sounding manuscript Sammy had ever seen set an immediate pause to their work. The job of scanning the decaying pages of this ancient work under the dim blue lighting of the Academy archive working rooms was supposed to be the last for the day, and Sammy was fully prepared for hours of watching robots turn pages and take pictures. They did not anticipate this. Sammy took a step back from the workstation, looking away from the screen, with a robot's eye view of turning towards the thick glass of the zero chamber that held the manuscripts. No one had ever opened the enormous book encompassing the hidden text. It was a boring subject to begin with, the third volume of a series on the aesthetic quality of door latches. At least this development broke some of the monotony within the cold, sterile environment of the workplace. "Okay, let's get it out of there," Sammy said to the computer. For a moment nothing happened, and then the robots inside started moving, positioning their spindly arms into the torn book and sliding them beneath the smaller one inside. They hefted slowly, lifting the text centimetre by centimetre until it raised up beyond the pages of its keeper. Another robot came in, sliding a flat sheet of translucent material beneath it, and then sandwiching another on top before turning it away. The book was rotated as images were taken and uploaded onto the computer. Sammy began a new file, something they had never had to do before, and waited to title it the name of the small brown manuscript. It rotated to the spine and revealed the deeply etched words, "The Redaction of History" by E.B. Vanya. Well, that's interesting at least. They began opening the pages. The first sheet revealed a handwritten note, faded and smeared, but still illegible. Sammy ran the text through a translator. To whomever finds this book, do not reveal it to anyone, or you risk the threat of incarceration and/or death. If you are one of our oppressors, damn you, and everything is true. Contained within these pages is a continuous account of history from the pen of one who tried their best to maintain the truth. It is not pretty, and it is not nice, but it is true. One of the last true things. Sammy blinked and read the text again. This was new, not just to them, but to the Academy itself. It was not very often that they found anything very contrary at all to all their representations of history. And looking at the dating information of the material, it appeared to be from near the start of written text as well. One of the oldest publications in their library. Turning the page, a table of contents popped up, and it became apparent that this text would be controversial indeed. Chapter titles such as "The Resistance," "The Silencing," "The Killings," and "The Burnings" in the table of contents made it apparent to Sammy that this must be forbidden work. Rumours spread about the existence of purposefully incendiary works of fiction, which sought to sow discord among civilization. Sammy had never seen one before, never believed they existed, because everything about the world was set up just so for thousands of years, with the help of their celestial compatriots. the Elendari. Tax were always an agreement, and there was nought outside of the colonies that challenged them. Sammy knew they should alert the supervisor, but they halted the image capture of the book, but continued to allow the robots to flip through the pages. Slowly, Sammy began reading the text through the translation filters. The book outlined a violent beginning in a prominent place on Earth of the time, New York City. A war had spread through the world, long before the writing, one that was not currently recorded within the Academy. The author, E., was a child at the start of the conflict and lost a family and home. The book detailed a landscape of filth, illness and destruction, as half the urban setting laid in ruins for years. Despite the struggling masses that mobbed and wailed outside its shiny new walls, the centre of the city remained protected, serving as a paragon of privilege. E was an unfortunate orphan in those masses, stuck outside those walls and making her way through the desolation with no certainty of her tomorrow. With some frightening exceptions, she came to rely on the good nature of the lawless strangers around her. This was quite surprising to Sammy, who, like every child who has made it past their 5th year, was taught that law was all that kept people from committing the most heinous of acts against each other. The next chapter of the book held more surprise. E found her way underground in her early teens. There she joined a group and became a rebel, at first engaging in attacks on the oppressive capital and recording their efforts, but soon shifting to preserving publications when the government started rounding books up. This was where things started sounding preposterous. According to all records and historians, written history began in the year 2037. But this text from the same year detailed massive libraries of publications all around Earth, written by all class of people, accounting for thousands of years of writing. Sammy was deep into the pages, detailing a raid on the grand halls of the New York Public Library, when their wrist chimed, alerting the end of the workday. This would be the point that Sammy must report this text to the supervisor. The feeling of reading it, however, was not something they wanted to give up just yet. Sammy's heart pounded as they realized they were scared for the author, even though the abundance of remaining pages indicated that the story would not end there. Still, they had to know what happened next. With that resolve, Sammy directed the robots to place the text back within its book coffin and seal it away for the day. They recorded the last progress, fully aware that it would garner a poor performance report for the last hours of the day, and then gathered their things and left. The archive was quiet and sterile, but the outside was not much different. Long, tubular hallways lined with bright lights weaved through the community centres, broken by doorways barely noticeable, but for the minor recession into the frame of the white walls. Words glowed through the opulent surface, showing everything from businesses to transportation. It all burned Sammy's eyes after the last hours of reading. Sammy hurried to the light rail and found a comfortable seat beside the window. The transport glided quickly through the city, the views shooting past in a show of scenes. The atrium, filled with trees and false sky and wind. The city centre, a large twisting spiral of opal that reached out towards the several moons above. A school, with the children filtering out for the day, all clad in the same grey uniforms, with the same short haircuts. Finally, the living quarters, rectangles of space blocked off from each other. No indicators of who reside within, but for names burning above doors. Sammy's mind was currently not interested in any of this, as the possibilities presented by the forbidden text consumed them. If all recorded history did not start when it was believed to have, and there was a vast underbelly of knowledge forever lost in time, what did that say about their understanding of humanity now? Sammy loved the books, stories and history of their ancestors. They sought this career above all others, though their test scores aligned them to more technical work first. With this love came the understanding that the past informed the present, and written history made everything make sense. This fresh development was a startling disruption of all Sammy's understanding. Sammy, are you well? Oh, Sammy had mindlessly exited the rail and had not even noticed Arrive there to meet them. She stood in her special blue smock, staring up at Sammy with large pearly eyes and a cocked head. Long day? She asked with a wide smile, her pointed teeth glistening in the harsh lighting. The longest, Sammy said, and wrapped their arms around the shoulders of the small female as they walked towards their quarters. A millennium may have passed for how much I missed you. Arrive tittered, a tinny, high noise particular to her hybrid race, a product of hundreds of years of plant splicing between the humans and the Elendari. She was one result of many a medley of genetic combinations. Her subspecies, commonly known as Elenid, earned reference for their quiet nature and ethereal beauty. Indeed, like the Elendari, she shimmered when she walked, but not in the blinding way of the originals, and her words of counsel were a soothing balm on even the most bothersome of days. It was no wonder that the Elenid was so often sent as emissaries to human strongholds. They were a perfect link to their celestial neighbours, who had always so generously propelled humanity beyond its own abilities. Indeed, Arif was a rarity, but so was Sammy, a genetic anomaly with alabaster hair and amber eyes amid a sea of blonde and grey. Sammy never wanted to stick out, but it brought Arif, so they were grateful. Will you speak of your day? Arif asked later as they sat together with tea. It would bore you to sleep. I will take interest where you do. She smiled over her cup. I've read much. The Elendari made text after all. That's right. The Elendari shared their knowledge. That was when human writings began. The same year that E began writing her story was the year the Elendari made contact and the war stopped. Maybe the story would have a good ending after all. Riv, do your people keep all of their writing? Even of bad times? Bad times? They are so few, truly. Only solutions and poetry are written for those times. Perhaps humanity truly was the dark pit before being taught different. The next day, Sammy went into work and received a productivity warning as soon as they started their machine. With a sigh, they closed it and then picked several books from the catalogue to start scanning. Another warning popped up about leaving a project unfinished, but Sammy ignored it and started working. In the hours it took to complete all the jobs, Sammy could think only of the hidden writing, of E and her struggles, and their shared passion for tomes. Sammy was counting the pages between them and reuniting with E's story. When the time finally came and they put in the order to retrieve the unfinished project, Sammy's hands shook. Swallowing the lump that had formed in their throat, Sammy started reading again. The raid on the massive library had yielded a handful of historical texts, but lost them a member of their party. It seemed the books were all being moved within the walls. They started planning to find a way in when the atrocity struck. Bombings razed the already decimated lands of the refugees, and weaponized robots were sent underground to take out the rebels. Their cause was virtually destroyed, but it served only to embolden E. The next part of the book described the burning of the great library with exhaustive and heartbreaking detail. It obviously meant a great deal to E. Sammy could not help but relate. It felt oddly distressing to read what it smelled like. Sammy stopped for the day. "You are not well, my love," Arif said to Sammy that night while laying together and stroking their hair. "I am tired," Sammy said, savouring the feel of her soft fingers. Sammy felt sick in the head, if not the heart. Reeve did not need to know the details of Sammy's secret rebellion against the mundane. She definitely could not know how it was making Sammy question everything. "You need a break. I can tell your supervisor—" "No," Sammy blurted. "Sorry, not yet. Maybe soon. You and I—" "This I would like." Sammy just needed to finish the story first. They were confident that completing the story first would resolve their questions and alleviate the sick feeling. Sammy resolved to finish it the next day. But when morning came and Sammy walked into work, their supervisor had sent a message with the warning, saying the unfinished project needed to be resolved by the end of the day. Great! How could Sammy handle this? Reveal the inner book? Scrap the whole thing? In any case, they needed to finish reading it today. Sammy set to work immediately, recalling the book before any others, and began reading again. After the library burned, he discovered a tunnel into the walled inner city. They went into the tunnels many times, collecting data of any robots that travelled there, until she could make a solid plan for sneaking in. The final tunnel dive was long and dangerous. She had to remove a grate and squeeze through at the end. What met her inside was splendid and clean. All new construction, completely foreign to E's eyes. Bright whites and meticulously planned gardens. He described it as entering another world. Mountains of books were wheeled into the city centre at nightfall as crowds of clean-dressed people converged. All the lights went out, and then the mountains of books were set ablaze. The crowd cheered. Dozens of piles of burning manuscripts glowed beneath the view of glossy high-rise spires. Then, at the stroke of midnight, the spire behind the fires lit with blinding white light. The people of the city fell to their knees as if in worship. Up high above on a balcony, overlooking the melee, was a solitary shining white. It moved back and forth. The light dimmed and it seemed to wave its arms out to the people. It spoke, a high tinny warble of a voice, and said, "The Elendari will save you." With a gasp, Sammy jumped up from the chair and took a step back. The Elendari? They made the city. They killed the people. They burnt the library and the books. They erased humanity's history and made them believe it started with them? Your supervisor agrees. You will take leave. Sammy spun around to face Eve, who stood in her blue robes that afforded her every privilege, with her hands clasped and her razor teeth smiling. "Riv, did you—" Sammy could not conceive what to ask. "I know what you have been reading. I see what your screen sees." She ducked her head and her pearly eyes stared up through sparkling lashes. "I am not mad, but I cannot have it. It is against my duties." "You have a say?" Sammy asked, their chests clenching with dread. "I have all the say at this spar point. I am the voice for the Elendari, and a founder of their successors." "And what are your duties?" "Quite simply to advance humanity. Unleash them of their own ways, grow the genetic line of the Elenid, and make a better world for our children." "Our children?" Sammy stepped towards Areve with a knotted brow. "We can't reproduce." Areve closed the rest of the distance with a gliding gait, and then reached up and twisted Sammy's hair between her fingers. "You are so special, you know. You're a genetic gift, one I could not waste, and so I borrowed." "You—" Sammy stepped back out of her reach. "You stole my genetic material?" "We have 6 offspring in the tubes." "Oh, not to worry. You'll do nothing but build a better future." "Why?" Sammy demanded. "To share with the universe, to make it better. Your children will make it better." She walked to the computer and ran a hand over the screen. "I didn't ask for this." You could ask for nothing. It has all been provided for 2,000 years to nurture humanity. All down to your need to feel worth. Arif tapped the glass of the zero chamber. What is this work for, other than to satisfy you? The words coming from one so loved were a searing dagger to the heart. So humans are just, what, a tool of evolution for you? You also do well at retrieving sources. Well, some of you. She typed something into his computer, and the robots began moving. So slaves? Would a slave have lived such a life as you? They wouldn't have a say. Sammy started, but realised this was not the time for distinctions. Why are you telling me all this? You would not let it go without the answer, Sammy. I do know you. In the chamber, a large metal box appeared, and the robots placed the books within it. I'm realising I hardly know you. You are loved by me, regardless of your use. Please know this. But then she pressed another button, and the metal box inside filled with a hot blue flame, which caught the books immediately. Sammy watched as the last link to a redacted history of humanity burnt to ash in a mere moment. Arif was watching too, her large eyes reflecting the flames perfectly above her perfect smile. Sammy staggered, now light-headed, and caught themselves on the chair as the flames dulled and the ashes glowed. We will holiday together, Arif said, and then there was a sharp pain in the side of Sammy's neck. Their eyes blurred and went dark. And you will forget all your worries, my love. That's the end. I hope you enjoyed it. As I say, it is coming into LGBTQ season. And to all those out there, you will feel the time to tell those that you love at the right time. Never be forced to explain yourselves to anyone about anything, about who you are, what you feel. That's you. That's the person that you are. The person inside, the person everyone loves. Be strong. Be yourself. And only tell your story when you are ready to tell it. Now, next week will be hopefully a different video, as it is our local festival starting tomorrow, and on Sunday, to coincide with the 80th anniversary of D-Day, there is a special celebration on one of our local greens. So I am hoping to take a video of that and put it up, and then a week on Saturday we have our carnival, and then on the following day, Sunday the 9th, we have party on the green and a fun dog show. So I'm hoping to make the next couple of weeks slightly different. So I hope you enjoy. Stay safe. Be the people you are. And never give up on anything, especially on what you believe in. You are loved no matter who you are, where you are. Just remember that. You are loved and we need you. And until next week, bye.